You inherited for $1 million.
Your brother inherited a house with a leaking roof and a mortgage that isn't paid off.
Everyone at the funeral thought you got the better deal. You still think that some nights. Other nights, you're not so sure. It's a Tuesday.
7:14.
Amy was standing in a kitchen with countertops nobody's ever cooked a real meal on.
The coffee maker costs more than your father made in a month. Most months. You drink it black because you never learned to like it any other way.
And somewhere along the line,
you stop trying to fix that. Your phone buzzes on the counter. Your brother's name.
You let it sit there through 2 more buzzes before you pick it up.
Hey, he says. You coming Sunday?
Sunday, Dad's thing.
The 1 year, a pause. You forgot. You didn't forget. You'd just been
doing the kind of not thinking.
That feels like forgetting if you do it well enough. I'll be there, you say.
You won't be sure you mean it until you're already in the car.
Your father died a year ago this Sunday.
Massive heart attack in the garage. Wrench still in his hand, working on a truck that was older than you. He left to do things behind that mattered.
A house in the neighborhood he'd lived in for 40 years.
And a life insurance policy nobody knew he'd been paying into since 1987.
The lawyer read it out in a conference room that smelled like burnt coffee. The house goes to Daniel. The policy, the accounts, everything liquid, goes to you. Nobody said it out loud, but everyone in that room did the math at the same time.
Then he got a house worth maybe $180,000 with a roof that needed replacing.
You got $4 million. Your brother didn't flinch. He shook your hand in the parking lot,
told you congratulations like you'd won something, and drove home to the house he grew up in. You drove home to a rental you'd break the lease on within the month. You were 14 months apart.
You and Danny, Irish twins. Your mother used to call you.
Though nobody in your family was Irish. Growing up, people assumed you'd end up the same school, same friends, same eventual life.
You never did. You were the one who read at the kitchen table until your mother made you go to bed. Danny was the one already out in the garage by age 10.
Handing your father wrenches before he'd even asked for them.
Nobody planned that split. It just happened. The way water finds 2 different paths down the same hill. You went to college on loans and scholarships,
and came out the other side, into an office job that paid well enough to feel like
proof you'd chosen right.
Danny went straight into the plant at 19.
The same floor your father walked and never left.
At every family dinner for a decade, someone would ask when you were going to come back down to earth, and someone else would ask
Danny when he was going to do
something with his
life. You both used to laugh it off. Neither of you laughed as easily after the funeral.
The first thing you buy is a house, not because you need one you could bought 10,
but because you don't know what else to do with a number that big. It has 5 bedrooms.
You live in one of them. The second thing you do is quit your job.
You'd hated it for 6 years. And now you don't have to pretend anymore.
You tell yourself you'll figure out the next thing.
You have time. You have money.
You have every resource a person could ask for.
What you don't have 3 months later
is a reason to get out of bed before 11.
Your brother still gets up at 5:45. Still drives the same truck your father used to drive.
Still works the same job at the plant that your father worked before him. On a floor your father used to walk.
He didn't inherit the money. He inherited the life.
And somewhere in the last year,
you've started to wonder if those were ever really 2 separate things to give away.
You call your mother more than you call Danny. She lives with him now.
In the house, in the room that used to be yours. You offered to buy her a condo somewhere warm.
She said no before you finished the sentence.
Your father built the garage with his own hands, she said. I'm not leaving it because you can afford somewhere better. You didn't have an answer for that.
You still don't.
6 months in, you fly to Portugal because
a friend from college is living there and says you should come see it.
You stay 3 weeks. You eat well. You take pictures of things you'll never look at again.
You hire a car and drive her for a day trip you
don't really remember by the
following week.
On the flight home,
you sit next to a man about your father's age who asks what you do.
You open your mouth. Nothing comes out that sounds true. I'm between things. You finally say.
He nods like that's a normal answer. It isn't. Not for you.
You used to know exactly what you did. You did it every day for 6 years and complained about it constantly.
Now you'd give a fraction of
what's sitting in your
accounts just to complain about
something real again. You land at midnight. 5-bedroom house is dark and silent when you walk in, and for a moment, standing in the doorway with your suitcase still in your hand, you can't remember why you came home instead of staying. Sunday comes. You drive out to the old neighborhood, past the school, past the corner store that's now a nail salon, past 100 small landmarks that used to mean something and now just sit there, unchanged, watching you pass. The house looks smaller than you remember. It always does. Danny's truck is in the driveway next to a ladder, leaned against the gutter. Roof again. You ask, getting out. Always the roof. He wipes his hands on his jeans. You look thin. I look fine. You look like a guy who hasn't eaten a real meal since the funeral. You laugh, and it surprises you. The way it always does now. Like your own laugh is something you have to relearn every time. Inside, your mother is at the stove. Same apron, same radio station playing low. The house smells like it always smelled. Nothing about it has changed except that your father isn't in the recliner, and everyone in the room is very careful not to look at the recliner. You sit at the same table you sat at as a kid. Danny's daughter runs through with a toy, shrieking, and Danny catches her mid-stride, swings her onto his hip without breaking the conversation he's having about the transmission on the truck. You watch him do it. You realize you don't know how to do that. You've never had to. Your mother sets a plate in front of you without asking what you want. You realize this is the first meal you've eaten all week that you didn't order from somewhere. After dinner, you and Danny sit on the back porch, the one your father built the summer you turned 12. Danny's beer sweats onto the wood. Yours does too. You didn't used to drink beer. You used to drink whatever the restaurant recommended. Tonight you drink beer because it's what's in the cooler and because, for one evening, you don't want to be the guy who orders something different. You ever think about it? Danny asks. The split. You go still. You've been waiting a year for him to bring it up, and dreading it exactly as long. Which part? The money? The house? Dad splitting it like that. I think about it every day, you say, before you can stop yourself. Danny nods slowly, looking out at the yard. I used to think he shorted me. You didn't get shorted. I got the money. Yeah. He takes a pull of the beer. For a while, I thought that meant something, like he trusted you more, or loved you more, or thought I couldn't handle it. He shakes his head. Took me a long time to figure out he wasn't choosing between us. He was just giving each of us the thing he thought we already had a shot at handling. And you got the house. I got the house because I was already living the kind of life a house makes sense in. Looks at you. You got the money because he had no idea what kind of life you were building. None of us did, including you, probably. You don't say anything. The porch light hums. Somewhere down the street, a dog barks twice and stops. I'm not trying to hurt you, Danny says. I'm just saying you've had that money a year, and you look worse than you did at the funeral. I've had this leaking roof a year, and I'm the happiest I've been since I was a kid. That's not fair. No, it's not. It's just true. You don't sleep the night. You lie in a bedroom in a house with 5 of them, and you think about the wrench still in your father's hand in that garage. You think about how he never once, in 40 years, complained about not having what you have now. You think he probably could have. He worked at the plant for 3 decades. He could have made different choices, chased different numbers. He didn't. Built a Porsche instead. He paid into a policy he never touched, quietly, for 35 years, so that one day, without him having to explain it, one of his sons would have room to fall on his face financially, and one would have a place that could never be taken from him, no matter how badly the other one's ideas turned out. You'd been so busy resenting the shape of the gift, you never once asked what he was actually protecting you from. You go back the next weekend, and the one after that. You start showing up on Sundays without being asked. You learn your niece's name for her stuffed rabbit. You help Danny replace the section of the roof that's been leaking since March, and you're terrible at it. And he laughs at you the whole time, and it's the best afternoon you've had in 14 months. You still have the 5-bedroom house. You still have the money, most of it anyway. You don't sell it. You don't give it away in some dramatic gesture that would make a better story than alive. You just stop treating it like the point.
One Sunday, your mother finds you in the garage after everyone else has gone inside.
You're just standing there, looking at the space where the truck used to sit before your father's heart attack. At the pegboard, still lined with tools nobody's touched in a year. He used to say the two of you were the same person, split down the middle, she says, not looking at you. The part of him that wanted more, and the part of him that wanted to stay.
Which part am I? She almost smiles.
That's not really up to me to answer anymore, is it? You put a chunk of the money into something that scares you a little of business.
Something you've wanted to try back when you still had a reason to want things.
You fail at the first version of it within a year.
You've never told anyone that failing
felt better than any month of doing
nothing else did. You try again, smaller this time, closer to something you actually understand. It's not much.
It's yours in a way the 5-bedroom house never was. A year after that Sunday on the porch, you're back there again. Same beer, same sweating bottles, same dog barking twice down the street.
You seem different, Danny says.
I got poorer, you say.
Relatively.
He laughs.
How's that feel? You think about it. Really think about it. The way you used to think about
spreadsheets and now think about almost nothing.
At all except the next real thing in
front of you.
Better than rich deed, you say.
Danny doesn't say anything smug. He just nods, like he already knew, like he's been waiting a long time for you to catch up to something he figured out the day the lawyer read that letter out loud.
Your mother comes out with a plate of something for both of you, sets it down without asking, goes back inside. The radio plays low through the screen door.
Your niece's laugh comes from somewhere in the yard.
High and unbothered by anything either.
Of you has spent the last
2 years learning the hard way.
You still have most of the money.
You'll probably always have more of it than Danny does.
That was never really the thing your father was dividing. He'd been trying to hand each of you the kind of life he thought you'd need, and it took you 2 years, and a leaking roof, and a porch he built with his own hands, to figure out he'd read you both exactly right. You just hadn't been ready yet to admit which one of you got the harder gift.
The dog down the street barks twice more, then goes quiet. Neither of you moves to go inside.
You sit there until the porch light draws moths and the beer goes warm in your hand. And for once, you don't check your phone to see what it's worth.